Alright, so quickly, just before we get into the actual content of this video, I just want to say a quick shout out to all of the subscribers of this channel, all of the members of this community for sticking with me, because over the last couple of weeks and even months, I just have not been able to get the output on this channel that I would typically like. My goal is sort of to have like 2 to 3 videos at least posted every single weekday on this channel, and obviously most of you guys know that, I'm still in college, finishing up all of those classes. I also have my full-time job with Breaking Points as a producer, so it's been getting kind of hectic recently. We've had, a totally new studio built and all of that, so I just haven't been able to post as much as I would like. But with that being said, obviously, again, shout out to all the Patreon subscribers, shout out to all the YouTube subscribers. You guys are absolutely amazing. But with all of that being said, let's just go ahead and get into what I got for you guys today. So obviously, over the last couple of days, we found out that Donald J. Trump, the former president of the United States, has officially been indicted once again, and this time for a different case than the previous Stormy Daniels case, this time for the infamous classified documents that this man was just sort of like holding in various places around his property at Mar-a-Lago in totally unsecure ways, and then had the whole back and forth with the feds who were trying to get the documents back, and then he lied about giving the documents back to them and was holding on to some of them, and we don't know who he necessarily showed these documents to. And so there's a whole bunch of shit that's going on with this, and Jack Smith, who is the leading prosecutor on this, has now officially unsealed the full indictment. And so we get a little bit of the details here. So to start off here from BNO News, just the actual indictments themselves and what potential consequences could theoretically come from them. So they start off here. They say, counts number 1 through 31. Okay, first of all, there's 37 counts on this indictment, right? 1 through 31 are on the willful retention of NDI, which is basically like national security classified documents, right? And they're charging him with this under the Espionage Act, right? So obviously, like, followers of my channel will be aware of the Espionage Act because we've talked about this in the instances of like Julian Assange, for example. And so basically, it looks like they're going after him under the Espionage Act. Now, the Espionage Act is something where, depending on how you want to actually prosecute it, that could easily be the most serious charge here. Now, it could also be one of the most difficult to actually prove in court, but this is definitely not something to overlook here. Now, again, I want to make a clear distinction here. Donald Trump taking these documents to Mar-a-Lago and sort of like flexing that he has these classified documents in front of some of his buddies, or potentially even like other foreign representatives from other governments around the world, right? That is a totally different situation to just have these documents as a flex versus somebody like Julian Assange or Chelsea Manning or Edward Snowden, who are taking classified information and revealing it with the intention, with the purpose of giving this information to the American people because it's information that we deserve to be aware of, right? So, we hear the Espionage Act. It's not as if Donald Trump is some sort of like Chelsea Manning or Julian Assange. Okay, but they move on here. 32. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. This one seems to me like it's going to be the easiest to prosecute because, again, we know basically that he was holding on to this information, that he was lying to the feds about giving all of it back to them, lying about what sort of documents he had. That seems like it's the most straight up and down one. 33. Withholding a document or record, again, seems pretty straight up and down. 34, corruptly concealing a document or record. 35, concealing a document in a federal investigation. 36, scheme to conceal, which I guess is just sort of like a broader culmination of these ones. But 37, false statements and representations. And they say if found guilty, the minimum sentence is no minimum, and the maximum sentence is 400 years. Okay, so let me just say straight up front, Donald Trump is not getting 400-year jail sentence, right? I highly doubt, honestly, at this point, because of how guarded our former presidents are from any sort of legal prosecution, because of how guarded elites and billionaires like Trump are in these kinds of situations. I would be very surprised if he faced any jail time whatsoever, but there you go. I mean, that's a scope. It could be anything from 0 years to 400 years. Okay, so take with that what you will. Now we get onto this NBC News article, which I think had a good breakdown of some of the most important key pieces of information that we learned from the unsealing of this indictment here. So first off, I mean, some of the pictures that have been coming out from this really just put it into perspective. It's even worse than I somehow thought it was. Like, we knew he had the classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. I guess I sort of gave him like that tiny inch of credit that maybe like, he had them in some like storage room or something like that. But no, this motherfucker was holding classified documents, some of which had like actual legitimate like military secrets. Like there was one that was apparently some plan to attack Iran that the Pentagon had come up with. And he's just storing these things like in the literal bathrooms at Mar-a-Lago. There were other ones that were sort of like on what looked to be like sort of a stage type of thing. Other ones were in what looked to be sort of like a garage or back room type of thing, which suspiciously had like a copier next to it. I mean, he was storing these in the most reckless way that you could possibly imagine. So again, it seems like on things like this, it should be pretty easy to prove to a jury that like he was recklessly and irresponsibly handling these documents at the very bare minimum. But I mean, they point out here, he was containing the classified documents in various locations, including a ballroom, an office space, his bedroom, a storage room, and even a bathroom and a shower. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Seriously? I mean, you're not even trying. And again, we've had like, Joe Biden got caught with some classified documents. Mike Pence got caught with some classified documents. But like, it's a totally different situation than hoarding boxes and boxes and boxes of classified documents in the bathroom at one of your properties where tons of different people are constantly coming in and out of. I mean, Joe Biden, whatever, he had some classified documents apparently at one of his, locations that was in DC. He had some that were apparently in some garage that he had and all of that. But then also the key difference between that and Trump, which is going to be important given the conservative responses to that, is that both Mike Pence and Joe Biden, when the feds came, and even before the feds came to ask for the documents back, they gave them over immediately, right? Mike Pence, I think, had like a pre-clearance where he told his people to go look and see if he had any classified documents. Same with Joe Biden. Then they found them, and then they turned them over immediately. Trump didn't do any of that. So it's like he just set himself up for this potential indictment. But of course, basically the entirety of the, conservative movement have been rushing to say that this is a total double standard, and why haven't you charged Pence? Why haven't you charged Joe Biden? This is a political persecution. And it's like, no, Trump could have handled this in a way that would have resulted in them not doing anything to him. It was because he was being a complete idiot in this situation and lied to the feds and withheld these documents, refused to give some of them over, and then contradicted himself by initially saying, oh, well, I had the right to declassify these because I was the president. And then now we find out as a result of this indictment that he knew that they weren't declassified, that he knew that he wasn't supposed to be showing them to people. So it's like you are undercutting even your own main defense. You set yourself up. You did this to yourself. But they continue here. The next point. Trump revealed classified documents to an author. So they say chief among the examples prosecutors lay out in the indictment of Trump sharing classified intelligence with unauthorized individuals took place during a July 2021 sit-down that he had with an author and a publisher for an upcoming book on his presidency. So they say while the indictment does not name the author and publisher, it does include a transcript of the conversation that Trump had with the two about a classified military document described plan of attack against another country, and that conversation, which stems from an audio recording, was reported earlier by CNN. And the quote here is, secret. This is secret information, Trump said. Look at this. I mean, again, you cannot possibly ask, if you are a prosecutor, you cannot possibly ask for a more open and shut situation than this, right? He literally says, secret. This is secret information, folks. Okay, we call it secret. Classified, you may say. Illegally in my possession, you may say. And he says, look at this. I mean, you're saying secret information, and then the next sentence, you're saying, look at this secret information. I mean, come on, dude. They continue. They say Trump admitted that he didn't declassify the documents and that they were still secret. So again, we have this transcript here, and I'll read it here in a second, but just understand, this was Trump's main legal defense, was that I, because I was the president, had the ability to declassify whatever I wanted, and even after I left the presidency, I can still declassify these documents, right? Here he is, after the fact, once he already had these documents, openly admitting that he did not have the right to declassify them after the fact and that they weren't declassified. So they got quotes here, right? He says, see, as president, I could have declassified it. And he says, now I can't, but this is still a secret. And the staffer says, yeah, now we have a problem. I mean, again, Trump is running around just being like, I love committing crimes. I am the crimes doer. I am the crimes committer. Okay. And then he turns around and he's like, oh, this is a political prosecution. Oh, this is the deep state coming after me. This is Joe Biden trying to target his political opponents as a matter of like election interference. And it's like, you just said on tape, you just said in front of people, multiple people, okay, that you weren't supposed to be doing this, that you knew that these were not declassified, okay, that you knew that you didn't have the power to declassify these after the fact. You're just straight up saying, I am a criminal. Please come prosecute me, right? They continue. Trump could have easily received a waiver to possess classified documents, but they say he did not obtain any such waiver after his presidency. So you're setting yourself up once again. They say Trump told someone not to stand too close to a classified map. They say after his golf club in Bedminster, at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, in August or September of 2021, he reportedly showed a classified map related to a military operation to an aide who worked for his political action committee. According to the indictment, that person did not possess a security clearance. Trump, the indictment states, quote, told the representative that he should not be showing it to the representative and that the representative should not get too close. Okay, you knew exactly what you're doing. You knew exactly what you were doing, right? Trump's documents contained national security secrets. So again, apparently multiple high-level, top of the top secret classified documents that were in his possession here, and he's just going around showing people. And he's like, I'm not supposed to show you this. I'm not supposed to show you this, but I'm gonna show you it. Okay, isn't this cool? This is a military document. It's illegal for me to show you this. Don't get too close. But I'm going to show you it anyways. I mean, it's amazing, okay? They say staffers freaked out as classified documents needed to be moved repeatedly. So this was another aspect of it. He was apparently like getting his staffers, who obviously did not have national security clearance, to move boxes around to different locations. And he was trying to tell his lawyers to take certain boxes of the highly classified information and, take them back to their hotel rooms at one point in case the feds came looking so they wouldn't see that he had those documents. I mean, this shit is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, again, Trump suggested his lawyers should not play ball with grand jury subpoena. I mean, this sentence alone, that's like, okay, there are the obstruction charges, right? That's the however many counts, the dozens of counts as a part of that 37 count indictment that are the obstruction charges. He told his lawyers, do not play ball with the grand jury subpoena. I mean, how do you even possibly defend that? Well, here we go. We got Trump initially putting out this statement on Truth Social over here saying, I am an innocent man. Okay, so let's just go ahead and watch this.
It's election interference at the highest level. There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. And we'll fight this out just like we've been fighting for 7 years. It would be wonderful if we could devote our full time to making America great again. And that's exactly what we did. But now, again, our country is in decline. We're a failing nation. And this is what they do.
Okay, I mean, I kind of love how every time he puts out one of these videos, it's like you can't really tell if it's scripted or not scripted, because portions of it seems like he's perfectly on message, perfectly on online, and then he'll just like cut away and make some sort of a random unrelated statement or something like that. So there you have Donald Trump, and that was just a short segment. He put out like a 5-minute video in response to it, but there you go. That's his defense. I'm an innocent man. It's a total double standard. Why aren't they going after Hunter Biden and Hillary Clinton and all of this stuff? Which is like, I want to make something clear. First of all, I think that there are good nuanced differences between, the Biden and Mike Pence classified documents situation, right? But at the same time, if you're going to come to me and say, okay, we get to arrest Donald Trump, but then we also have to arrest Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, I'm going to look at you dead in the eyes and say, okay, do it. Bring a case against them. And if they committed a crime, throw them in fucking jail. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to sit here and defend Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden as if I care that they are the beacon for, Democratic establishment politics. I don't give a shit. Okay. And that's the difference between like, a typical Republican or Trump backing conservative and even liberals also who are, backing Joe Biden and comparing that to leftists is that leftists will say, okay, lock them all up. I think all of these motherfuckers should be in prison for even other crimes as well. I mean, how many war crimes is Joe Biden responsible for, right? Somebody who was a fervent supporter of the war in Iraq, for example, and all of the drone programs under the Obama administration. How many, war crimes is Hillary Clinton responsible with Libya, for example, right? And same goes for Donald Trump, and same goes for every single president since World War II. I mean, this shouldn't be a complex issue. I think all of these U.S. presidents are and have always been criminals. So if you want to, bring up a double standard, well then, okay, let's have that conversation. Let's find out what crimes we can prosecute for them, and let's fucking go for it. But it's just always this tit for tat sort of like hypocrisy burning game of like, oh, well, Joe Biden did this or Hillary Clinton did this. And it's like, okay, so is your argument that because Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and Obama or whoever the fuck have also done bad things that therefore Trump should be able to get away with the bad things? It's like, no, if you're going to have a principled stance on this, then all of them should be in prison, right? I mean, this is the same Donald Trump who's now pretending that this is a political prosecution, who ran an entire campaign in 2016 saying, lock her up for Hillary Clinton. So which one is it? Do you want to not go after your political opponents for potential crimes that they committed? Or are you in favor of doing that? Because we also had this statement here, as pointed out by BNO News. Trump says if elected, he'll appoint a special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden and his family. Okay, so again, which one is it? is this a political prosecution and political prosecutions are wrong? Or is this a political prosecution and political prosecutions are good as long as I'm the one doing them? Or what actually is this even about? I mean, it's like we're not even having conversations about the legitimacy of the allegations that are against Donald Trump or the facts of the case that is being brought against Donald Trump. But now we have some other Republicans who are joining in to basically fuel the flames, I guess, of Donald Trump claiming that he's innocent and that this is a political prosecution. So a couple of quick quotes here. They say here from Kevin McCarthy, the majority leader in the House, "It is unconscionable for a president to indict the leading candidate opposing him." Why? Okay, first of all, this isn't Joe Biden's indictment, right? Joe Biden didn't decide to go after Donald Trump on this, but why? I mean, if somebody who is a candidate for an election, if somebody is even a president, I think they should be able to be prosecuted for potential crimes that they commit. I don't really care what the crime is. I mean, again, I would rather them focus on more substantive crimes than like classified documents necessarily, but like, what is the rule here? That if you become a high-level politician, you are immune from any crimes and nobody should prosecute you for any of the things that you do? I mean, it's just completely ridiculous. But we got another one here from Ron DeSantis, of course, bending the knee and sort of bending over, really, for Donald Trump. He says the weaponization of federal law enforcement represents a mortal threat to free society. Okay? I mean, I would argue the opposite of that, sort of, in that we cannot possibly have a free or a democratic society if presidents or presidential candidates are immune from all of the crimes or accountability for all of the crimes that they commit. I mean, they have like a completely inverted view of this. We have another one here from Marco Rubio. There is no limit to what these people will do to protect their power and destroy those who threaten it, even if it means ripping our country apart. First of all, whose power and who is threatening to take away that power? Donald Trump is a threat to the power structures of the United States. That's the sort of like laughable conversation that we're going to have. Donald Trump is the outsider taking a torch to the establishment, the guy whose main achievement when he was the president was to give a tax cut to corporate America, the billionaire class. Yeah, that guy is an outsider trying to take on the deep state or whatever the fuck. We've also had some statements here from some of Trump's supporters as well, as pointed out by Vice here. They say Trump supporters are organizing on fringe social media platforms, finding the names of federal prosecutors and compiling information of their children and families. One said, "We need to start killing," and another said, "Their children are fair game." So things are just going great over here in the U.S. right now. We also had another one from an official congressman, Andy Biggs, who is, I believe, a part of the Freedom Caucus. He says after Trump's indictment that we have now reached the war phase. I'll leave it up to you guys to interpret exactly what that means. Seems like he is calling for civil war, I guess, right? But we've had some other takes that are kind of different from the people who are Trump's bootlickers, who are giving a more honest take about this, but, not as if I'm a fan of Bill Barr over here. But they say here from Mediaite, Trump's former AG, Attorney General Bill Barr, lowers the boom in a stunning analysis on Fox News Sunday, saying, quote, "If even half of it is true, he is toast. If even half of it is true, he is toast." Let me tell you something. More than half of this is true. Okay, so then we get to the question of like, well, where do we go from here, right? So, I mean, the political analysis of this is that within the Republican primary, this is not going to do anything other than help Donald Trump. And we have the polling data already here to, prove that statement. So as pointed out here by YouGov and CBS News, they say indictment charges, how might they change your view of Trump? And this is likely GOP primary voters. 14% say for the better, 61% say won't change, and 7% say for the worse. So double the amount of Republican likely voters, double the amount said that it would help Donald Trump, help their chances of voting for Donald Trump, than they said that it would hurt their chances of voting for Donald Trump. Okay, so that's where we're at. It's not going to hurt him in the Republican primary politically. Could potentially hurt him in the general, assuming that he is the candidate that comes out of the primary contest. I'm pretty confident in that at this point, but seems like it won't hurt him in terms of getting the nomination, which is also kind of funny because like Ron DeSantis is coming out and bending the knee for him and defending him and, saying it's an unfair weaponization of law enforcement and all of that stuff, as if that's going to help him defeat Donald Trump in the end. Kind of, a delusional fantasy land that you're living in there. Meatball Ron. But, that's the political analysis of this. Now, the other analysis is obviously the legal analysis. Is he actually going to get in prison? Well, we never know. We have this constant theory here that he's Teflon Don, that nothing he could say or do would ever be enough to throw him behind bars. I would look at the actual facts of this case and I would say, I don't know how much more clear cut that you could possibly get, especially in terms of the obstruction of justice charges. So I don't know how much clearer you could possibly ask for if you're a prosecutor, but we'll just have to see how this plays out from here. I mean, obviously this is just the preliminary information, the preliminary analysis that we are getting from this so far. So we'll have to see how this plays out. It'll definitely be interesting. Things are certainly heating up, I guess you could say, you know, to say the least. But I'll keep you guys updated as we get more information on this.
Everyone is saying good Politic guy has the best Politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me. Everyone is saying